I was sitting there in front of the screen. I invested all my money into this stock, and within 3 to 4 hours, my account was wiped out.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
Really?
The common trait with those people is just curiosity and wanting to sort of educate themselves and be literate and move from like 0 to 1, right? I think that's something we want to sort of impart to our audience and sort of make them literate and just get people curious and asking questions about, okay, it could be something as simple as, what did my super fund return last year? Where does this sort of sit in the benchmark in terms of your average retail super fund? Could I be doing any better?
I don't have to mention names, but there's been plenty of scams, at least in the past decade. I remember telling my clients not investing in 3 years ago, and now they're saying, Afiq, you should have listened to you. So this is the kind of service that I want to bring to the community. Let us be the people, because with our qualification, I believe that we have the ability to look at something and say, look, this is legit. This has a lot of red flags, don't touch it.
Hey guys, my name's Ridhwan Hannan here. With me, I've got Afiq Malek and Muneeb Khan. We are the hosts of a new podcast called Faith, Money, Finance. We have come together to try and be able to educate our community, offer our community something we think is lacking within the space, both from a financial perspective, transparency perspective, professional perspective, and certainly something that we can get the community to get behind and trust. We have come together to try and be able to offer people within our community from different faiths, different backgrounds, the chance to ask questions, engage with and listen to people from within the space of all different backgrounds, faith-wise, education-wise as well, to be able to talk about all things in life. A particular area is going to be finance, money and money-related matters. We think that it's a real gap in the market with regards to this in our community. Each podcast, we're going to have a call to action for members and viewers to be able to get behind, do certain things and actually implement certain things within their financial framework to better their position. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So let me introduce a couple of team members that we have here. Muneeb Khan, Afiq Malek. Muneeb, how about you kick us off and tell us a little bit about your background, why you've come to the podcast, and just a bit about yourself.
Thank you, Ridhwan. So a little bit about myself. I studied accounting and finance at university. And it's actually by chance that I ended up in the trading profession. So I can relate this back to a conversation I had with a friend on a train ride into the city. So my career actually started off as an auditor, and I learned pretty quickly that it wasn't for me. So I was working at Deloitte at the time and hiding in a level where a partner couldn't find me and assign work. So I knew very quickly it wasn't for me. And then, I had a chance conversation with a friend who was working at ComSec. And at the time, he was just doing a client service role, but his job seemed pretty interesting. He was speaking to people about the stock market all day long. And that sounded like something, that would be up my alley. So
you did the brown thing. You started in accounting.
I definitely started in accounting, yeah. And then, after that conversation, I educated myself. I remember I opened up an account with IG Markets, funded it with a couple of $1,000s.
What year was this?
Oh, it was in 2007, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was around 11 p.m. US market was opening. I was listening to Jim Cramer. He was pitching a stock and he was saying this thing is going to fly. So
Jim Cramer's that dude who screams at the TV, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's mostly wrong, but I don't know this at the time. So, I was sitting there in front of the screen. I invested all my money into this stock, and within 3 to 4 hours, my account was wiped out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So,
First day?
First day. Mind you, I was trading on leverage.
Okay, wow. Okay.
It was IG Markets,
yeah.
right? So then I figured I needed a plan if I'm going to do this. So then I started on like an education journey, educated myself about markets, about trading, and made the transition to a prop trading firm. So, for those of you who don't know what a prop trading firm is, essentially you have a seat at a table, you don't get paid a base salary, and you get a share of profits. So
commission only types of thing.
Commission only, commission only. So I left accounting, did that for about 6-7 months, cut my teeth and figured out how to trade. Then, leveraged that experience to get a job at an international investment bank. I moved into the FX desk at Citibank. So that was a totally different league. And
FX is foreign.
Yes, foreign exchange.
Yeah,
foreign exchange. So we were, quoting clients who were buying, like millions, sometimes $500 million worth of any currency at a time. So and that was a very interesting role. I had to start work at 4:30 a.m. on Monday. So at the time I was
in Australia.
In Australia, yeah.
In the office.
In the office, yes.
Wow.
Yes,
okay, where was that?
On Park Street.
Oh, right, in the city.
Yeah.
Anyone else starting that early, or you just you?
Just me and the other FX trader.
Wow. Okay. So proper, like.
Yeah, it was proper. It was
okay.
proper.
Wow.
So I remember actually the first week my boss came up to me and said, "Where do you live?" Because the cab ride in was like $190 at that time in the morning. An interesting story. I think the second week I was there, I was down $5 million on a Monday morning. Which was like a total breach of limits, but just that's the environment that Citibank ran. It was kind of a sink or swim, right? So I had a cab driver who would come pick me up at 3. He would bring me a meal, and I would eat in the cab, and then get to work at 4 and set up for a day.
Was the cab driver called Afiq Malek?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. But yeah, look, it was a great time because it was a very sort of fast-paced, dynamic environment, and that's where I learned how to trade. Then I did that for, I think it would have been a year or so. And then I thought, you know what, like this trading gig is not difficult. I can do it for myself. So then I was kind of doing little bits and pieces in between, but essentially trying to manage
your own money.
Yeah, trying to manage my own money.
Yeah.
But managing your own money when you don't have a big bankroll is quite stressful. Right?
I think it's quite common for most people as well.
Yes, it's quite common. So that didn't go as well as I would have liked. But at that point in time, I had enough experience, and I had done a couple of qualifications at Citibank where I knew what I was doing. So after sort of, trying to run, let's say like a family fund for a couple of years, I thought I could do this, but I need more capital, right, to make it effective. So then I went back into the workforce and got another foreign exchange job, but this time I was on the buy side. So that effectively means, we were the clients of the investment bank, and they were making prices for us. So it was actually at a money transfer company called Ria Money Transfer, and effectively I was managing their trading and treasury team in APAC hours. So I did that role for about 3 to 4 years.
So a lot of money transfer related.
Yeah, it's predominant. My background, like the first 10 years of my career, apart from the first 6 months doing auditing, was effectively in FX, right? So both on the sell side, buy side, taking directional risk, doing back-to-back trading. So I sort of have a good idea of how that plumbing works.
Yeah. And the guys around you, what were they educated in? Were they accountants or were they finance?
There was good diversity, right? I think most people did have some qualifications in finance, or at least had been exposed to it at a fundamental level. But we had people from all sorts of fields. Like we had engineers, we had people who had computer science degrees, because that sort of problem-solving skill set is critical in that environment, and they really value that. So yeah, it was a great mix. I mean, got to learn from a lot of really sharp people. And then I sort of left that and moved into crypto. That was probably the best move I made in my career. I saw the opportunity.
What year was that?
That was 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018. So relatively early.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I think Bitcoin at that time was trading around $2,000 just before it had the crazy run up to 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
If only.
If only, yes, yes. So yeah.
Those days.
Yeah.
Days.
I had a friend actually who started up a trading desk. He had been hired to start up a trading desk at one of the first crypto exchanges in Australia, one of the first licensed crypto exchanges in Australia. And yeah, things were going gangbusters, and he needed like an extra pair of hands on the desk. And I remember at the time we were printing money. Because we were doing what's known as arbitrage. We were buying Bitcoin from the US market, right? Because because unlike, let's say, stock exchanges, the crypto market is decentralized. Mm-hmm. So there is no one price of, what you can buy something at. So we were buying Bitcoin from some US firms 5% cheaper than what it was selling for in Australia.
So you ended up buying Bitcoin at a particular price, selling it to other buyers at a higher price.
Yeah.
And that's the arbitrage.
That's the arbitrage. Okay. And we were making that transaction in 30 minutes. Right. So basically,
how much are you doing per day?
Look, back then it was difficult to do large sizes, but we're probably doing upwards of 3 to 5 million a day.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, good return, right?
Yeah. 5%.
Yeah, 5%.
Were you making 5%?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
At a minimum, we were making 5%. Some transactions were making 10%.
Yeah. So you were not necessarily doing this for yourself, but it was for the firm.
Yeah, so basically we were prop trading for the fund.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And the only key component there was if you knew how to move money around.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
There was nothing
background
sophisticated.
helped.
Yeah, the background helped.
Yeah.
Like, most people didn't know how to move money around, whereas like myself and my colleague both came from an FX background, and we were very well versed in that system in terms of the plumbing and how money moves. So I did that. That firm did really well. I mean, the arbitrage eventually collapsed as more people came into Bitcoin, right? So the arbitrage went down from like 5%, 3%, 0.5%, and today it's virtually non-existent. You can still do it at times, but it's been sort of taken out by all the market makers in the game. So yes, I was at that firm, and then I was also a shareholder there. We were eventually acquired by a very large international crypto exchange called Kraken. So about 2 years into that role, which was at a firm called Arbitrage, we sort of experienced the highs and lows of the crypto cycle. So we went from like a firm of 5 to, I would say, like a firm of 30 in 6 months, and then round trip that to 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was
Something like the Bitcoin cycle.
Yeah, kind of like the Bitcoin cycle, right? So over-invested, and then weren't sort of well prepared for the downturn. And then, it was in, I think, 2020 that Kraken decided to enter the Aussie market, and they did it through an acquisition of Arbitrage. And I moved over to Kraken, and that's where I am now. Kraken is a very large international exchange. I mean, we operate in, I would say, like 130 plus countries worldwide, deal with clients from like a high net worth individual all the way up to a sovereign wealth fund. And over here, I oversee trading for Asia Pacific. I'm a director of the OTC entity as well. And basically, we're facilitating extremely large trades, especially with what's happening now and, the price of Bitcoin, ETF entrance into the market, digital asset treasury company. The exposure has been great.
Yeah.
Having worked with, as I said earlier, high net worth individuals all the way up to governments, advising in certain policies when it comes to, the creation of certain tokens and whatnot. So the experience has been fantastic. And I think the experience that I've had is very well-rounded. And, alhamdulillah, it's been a great journey so far. And I'm now in a position where I've sort of seen a lot and I think done a lot as well, where I want to contribute back to the community. So being in the role that I'm in, I'm across a lot of, let's say, investments that people are presented with within the community. And a lot of people come back to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Okay.
And at a lot of the times you just need to sort of scan it at surface level and, this is not right, right?
Yeah.
There's sort of something wrong with it. Like the red flag goes up straight away. So what I would like to achieve now, being sort of involved in this project with you guys, is to sort of educate our audience in terms of, how to sort of spot some of these issues, what makes a good investment, and just sort of give back to the community.
Sift through the dross.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of, spitball things here with you guys, be a sounding board, have some engagement, because I feel, the community has been underserved in this area.
Yeah.
And due to a couple of bad actors, with like the reputation has sort of been tarnished. And ideally, I think the three of us are here to rectify that as best we can.
Yeah. No, look, and for me, it's really important that I recognise that someone like yourself is hard to get a hold of, and I appreciate your time. So I think it's going to be good for us to be able to continue, as you said, spitball with each other, and give the community something back that we can all benefit from as a community. And, we're in a position that we're stronger. As we're stronger together, that's going to make life a lot better for us as a community here and overseas. And I think that's probably one of the founding principles that we've all spoken about offline about why we want to do this, that we don't want continual bad actors within the community, outside of the community, to be continuing to affect the community. And I think if we can come together, it's going to be a good thing. So, yeah, appreciate it. That's awesome. So, pretty cool journey. And you're at the forefront of the crazy crypto world.
Yes.
And as you said, there's a lot of red flags. So it's good to be able to try and get some insight as to what, potentially is real, what's not. And obviously crypto is here to stay.
Yes.
I think that's probably pretty real, a real scenario for us at the moment. But yeah, it'll be wonderful getting more insights off you as the episodes go on. And obviously we'll maybe try to bring some other people in who have different types of digital asset experience. For those who don't know, Muneeb and I recently went to Bangladesh, and we were we ended up presenting to the Bangladeshi bank, which is a bit of a shock for Muneeb, but hopefully he had a good time with our people there and our family there.
I love the food.
So we ended up presenting to the Bangladeshi government the use of digital assets, not necessarily crypto, but stable coins, to be able to embed in their ecosystem, to be able to fix a lot of the problems that they have, whether it's attracting foreign capital, dealing with people around the world who'd like to invest back into Bangladesh, and just getting them a little bit more further into the conversation of what a digital economy looks like. They're making really good efforts in trying to progress the economy further. It's been a fantastic run for them over the last 15 years. They've had a big political change there, obviously. Recently, everyone's aware of that. But we thought it's a good opportunity to try and say, hey, this is a real thing. Cryptocurrency, blockchain use, stablecoin use exists. Now, either you're going to be left behind or you're going to be the forefront and put your arms around it. So we recently came back, which is a pretty cool trip. And and it was kind of the education process as well. Although we have a business mechanism there, a lot of it was educative, right? So again, so it'd be good to hear. Maybe we'll do an episode on that and see where that gets to. We can get our other partner in who was on that as well. But without further ado, we'll get Mr. Afiq Malek to introduce yourself, give us a bit of a background and why you're here as well.
Sure, thank you for the introduction, Ridhwan. So just so everyone's aware, I'm the one who didn't get invited to go to Bangladesh.
There's only so many Browns when you get on the plane.
So currently I'm the principal of a financial planning firm called Granada Wealth Advisory. I'm actually the opposite side of Muneeb. I went from a huge firm to a smaller firm, starting my own firm actually, whereas Muneeb did the opposite. So my background is in economics. I've also got a master's in financial planning. I started off as a dealer's assistant. That is the guy that calls up clients and hopefully the client picks up, and I just give them straight back to the main broker.
Financial dealing, nothing else.
Yes, financial dealing. So mainly stocks. So my background is essentially just stocks and equities. That's my background, but I'll just go a bit more depth on how I got into that. So doing economics at uni, I thought that was fine. It was great. However, a lot of people just end up working for the RBA, and I just didn't want to do that. That was not my thing. I did an internship at a American bank here in Sydney, and I got exposed to the trading desk at that time, and that exposure made me fall in love with trading. The high-paced environment, people shout. This is back in the day. I'm talking 20 years ago, right? People shouting across the desk. To me, that was heaven, because what I saw on American movies at the time, and I saw it live, I thought this is the environment I want to be.
Have you guys seen that meme that's going around?
No.
What is it? Don't love your job your love. Oh, that's what's happening with you right now.
Yeah. I was jobbing my love. I was went down that road. Was a dealer's assistant. Yeah. I remember there was one job. So to get my job initially, and I still have that contract, by the way. I think I started off at $40,000 per annum.
Okay,
just starting off. And this is fresh out uni, so it wasn't the best pay, because the grads were getting 65 plus, right? And 20 grand back when you're broke is a lot of money. It's night and day. And there was one firm that was hiring a dealer's assistant, and they had about 50 applicants going to that job. So I remember sitting down with the recruiter, or the job. Do they call them recruiters these days?
Recruiters.
Yeah, recruiters. And he said to me, Afiq, it's a team of 30 plus white dudes. I don't know if you'll get it, but take a punt, go for it. You got nothing to lose, right?
What year was this?
So it's 2011.
Okay, yeah, right. It's a while back.
Yeah. I went in there, and I thought to myself, I'm never getting this job. I saw the floor, I saw everything, I saw everyone involved, and I thought, I'm never going to get this job. Let me just have a fun interview and just talk smack. Got in, talk smack. Half an hour later, they were just laughing. Didn't even talk about trading at all. Keeping in mind, my experience at that time was minimal because I was just a dealer's assistant. The next day, I get a call from the recruiter. Hey, Afiq, they loved you. Come back in. You're starting next month. Over the moon. They just gave me a contract to sign. I just signed it. That's when I realized 40 grand. I just said yes. You know, I knew there was a lot to learn. And my boss, so when I started that job, it was very similar. However, I did get paired with a senior advisor at that time. And because it was a firm of about 30 people, you get exposed to everything. We were specializing in derivatives and equities at that time, derivatives and options at the time. Sorry, futures and options at that time, which is derivatives. And the first lesson my boss taught me on week 2 was, Afiq, if you want to learn, you got to put your skin in the game. So between uni, I was a waiter between uni, and I survived on waitering and tips, and all I had to my name was $6,000. I put $5,500 into the trading into Interactive Brokers, which I still use today, right? And trust me when I say, when $5,500 was all your life savings, if 1 cent went out, you'd know where that 1 cent went. I remember seeing a 50-cent charge because I entered a trade without a limit. And back in the days, if you entered a trade with limits and you provided liquidity, you'd get some of the brokerage back. I put a trade at market and I got no brokerage back, and I was pissed. It was only 50 cents, by the way, right? So that my boss at that time, my mentor actually taught me how to trade, and that 6,000 within 12 months, we turned that to $36,000.
Okay, no.
Keeping in mind, we took huge risks, right? But now that I think about it, it wasn't that huge because it was a lot of options. And you've dabbled in options before, Muneeb, and possibly you, Ridhwan. And you can accelerate your returns by not really taking on too much risk or really putting a limit on that risk, right? So that year learnt very well. So at uni, I was waitering.
Where were you working?
I was working with only 3-hat restaurants, my friend. Wow. Honestly, when you get in decent tips,
The Pizza Hut?
those restaurants are still there. There's 3-hat restaurants there. So actually I've got an embarrassing story. I took an extra year for uni because I had some family issues, and one of my friends graduated uni and went to the restaurant I was working at, and I just felt a bit awkward because
Rich uni friends at 3-hat restaurant.
yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
And brown brokies, big difference, right? And it was a bit awkward because I'm trying to serve him, trying to be friendly, and was thinking, am I ruining my life? Because and lo and behold, a few weeks later, I got that job with my old firm. So I was waitering, got the job, put $6,000 of my own money. My senior advisor at that time helped me trade that, turned that to $36,000, taking
Over what time frame was that?
12 months.
12 months. Okay.
Yeah, 12 months.
Do you reckon you could do that now? Someone gave you $6,000, could you turn it to 36 in 12 months?
If they're happy to take the risk, absolutely.
Okay.
I reckon I could do it.
Okay.
Yeah, if they're happy to take the risk, there's no problem at all. I'm actually doing this challenge. It's called 1,000 to 10,000.
All right.
Ah, okay.
I'm at $8,000 and it's only been 3 months.
All right. Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you want to put that on. So after that, obviously, I was made in charge of a book. That book grew big. That book grew bigger, and I was made a senior advisor as well. And then I got offered to buy into the company. However, there was a few. But I was working a lot during the US hours, so 11:30 plus. I wouldn't finish till 6-7 in the morning, and then once you have a family, it gets very hard. So.
You got kids?
Yeah, twins. I'm just when you start a family, it's very hard to work US hours.
Yeah.
And then deal with day-to-day life. I was working at the US and London at one point with the same company. That made it a lot easier. But when I had to come back, it just made it a lot harder. So market was doing well. and we had our own strategies as well. So a senior advisor and I decided to start our own firm where we would focus still with US stocks and derivatives, but allow us the ability to work during the Aussie hours. So a senior advisor and I, we started our own firm, but then it became very transactional. Put money in, money out, and we were just, not that I don't like it, we were just making rich people even richer, which is great, but we sort of came across people who probably needed our services better. So we transitioned into, we still gave the trading advice, investment advice, we sort of transitioned into more holistic advice. So from then we became a financial planning firm where we gave proper holistic advice from not only investments but superannuation as well, and anything that comes on across our desk. And because we've been people think just because you're traders or your portfolio managers, you don't get exposed to a lot of other things. That's incorrect. We get a lot of things thrown on the desk every day. Investment opportunities, this fund, that fund. You sort of get trained to work and finding. Sort of get trained, and you're able to discern which one's a bit of a scam, which one's legit, etc. Because the people that I deal with, especially high net worths and family offices, they entrust you with the money to invest, and part of your services is you do the proper DD in order to ensure that they're getting the right investment, because it's all about trust. And I'm sure you guys are aware, as I am, that sometimes they don't even read the papers. It's all on trust. They tell you, hey Ridhwan, hey Muneeb, someone gave this us. Can you decide whether this is right for us?
That happened to Muneeb and I yesterday.
Oh, this is back in Bangladesh when I wasn't invited.
No, WLD.
Yes.
Literally the exact same thing.
Yes.
Yeah? There you go.
So
we went down the whole holistic advice, and alhamdulillah, business has grown.
I can't believe you cut about not being Bangladesh. What are you going to do in Bangladesh?
I don't know. I just thought I'd say it's funny for the thing. Yeah,
It's just being nice.
you're nice. Trust me, I'm not jealous at all.
Hey man, the food was good.
The food was good. I like that.
With the Pakistani food?
His house had Pakistani food.
Yeah.
Trader.
As in, all right, keep going.
So I think with the experience that I've had and coupling with your experience, I think I think mistrust is quite prevalent in our community. I don't have to mention names, but there's been plenty of scams, not only recently, but at least in the past decade, that I remember telling my clients not investing in 3-4 years ago, and now they're saying, oh, Afiq, we should have listened to you, right? So this is the kind of service that I want to bring to the community. It's more of let us be the people, because with our qualification, I believe that we have the ability to look at something and say, look, this is legit, this has a lot of red flags, don't touch it. Because I'd rather you not make money than lose money. The number one rule of trading is capital preservation, and that happens in everyday life. But you also need to invest your money as well, because obviously inflation will erode the borrowing power. I mean, the power of your funds. You just need to invest it wisely. So I think the reason why I'm happy to be part of this, and I think it's something that the community needs, that we can provide a service to, and hopefully reach out to the broader market and be a source of a point of reference before people look at investments, etc.
Nice. Awesome. And again, thank you for being here. So for those who don't know, Afiq works with a whole bunch of different community organizations as well, helping them manage their money. So for me, I've known Afiq for a while now, and he works a lot with my clients as well. So I have a high trust factor, as you mentioned in just before. But yeah, it's really important for us to be able to work with people who we know are in the community, serving the community well. And as you said, having the community in a position where it has somewhere where it can go, it's trusted, it will get returns, and we strengthen ourselves is really important. So I want to thank you for joining along in this podcast, and hopefully what's a good journey.
Thank you. But Muneeb and I have had a talk already about us. I think it's your turn there, Mr. Hannan.
So my name's Ridhwan Hannan. We run a tax and accounting practice in Sydney. We've got a couple of offices, one here where we are in Bella Vista and the other one in Balmain near the city. We've had it for about 16 years. My father started it back in 2006 when he got made redundant at a very late stage in his life. He then took a punt and opened his own firm. I was actually working in law at the time. I did law and commerce at uni, and I never thought I'd actually work in the accounting space or the finance space, for example. I always thought, because I've got a big mouth, I'd work in the legal space. But that didn't work out the way that I wanted to, not in a negative way. I didn't want to really work in commercial law. So I was working for Immigration Rights and Advice Council, Immigration Rights and Advice Centre, until it got defunded, unfortunately. And so then I had to do something else. I ended up, working a few odd jobs at NAB and a few other bits and pieces along the way. I ended up working in an accounting firm in the city. And I didn't love that, I'm going to be honest with you. There wasn't anything bad about it. It was just a very traditional accounting firm where, numbers came in, you did it, and that was it. I ended up working for a self-managed super fund administrator in North Sydney. It's a bit of a infamous story, that firm, but I can give you a story behind that. So I ended up working there as an accountant in the SMSF space. I then moved into investment advisory. So I ended up moving into the division which actually bought the securities and shares for clients. However, I didn't love what they were buying for clients. So they ended up buying a lot of shares in businesses where the directors knew each other. They ended up setting up their own LICs, which is listed investment company, investing their clients' money into that. And it was just all too messy and it wasn't for me. Ethically, it wasn't for me. So I ended up going to Hajj. And then when I came back, I still remember the story vividly. I was just in the morning doing some reading, and my dad walked in and I said, look, I think I'm going to quit because I can't work with this space anymore.
MashaAllah.
And then I ended up speaking to my boss at the time and I said, hey, look, I'm not really comfortable with, the investments that you guys are doing. And I was, youngish then, but I was basically told, hey, you don't know what you're really doing. So, just put up or shut up. And I ended up then handing in my resignation. And I spoke to my dad, who had just started the firm, I think a year and a half before that, because I went to Hajj in 2008. And on 2006, it was just after he started, 2006, right? And he said, okay, cool. Why don't you do this business with me? And I hadn't had any taxation experience. I hadn't had any real significant accounting experience. So I ended up doing a few courses. Obviously, I did accounting and law at uni, so I knew the basics. And then we ended up hiring an office at Norwest Business Park, which we're still here today. And I still remember getting my first $3,000 client. I thought it was an amazing effort, and I still love and cherish that client. So thank you to who you are. And so then we're back here. In between that, I've done a few different things. I've had a few other businesses in between. I ran some medical centres, and I've always been a little bit more entrepreneurial when it comes to certain things, not running necessarily a traditional accounting firm. Although our firm is quite traditional, we do tax, we do property-related stuff. We have a lot of purview like you guys do with regards to what people are doing. Accountants see into the businesses of what people are doing, not necessarily commenting if they're good or bad, but understanding how people are transacting, making money, doing those different things. I kind of think that our business is a good cross-section of society. So we have people who are, mums and dads, all the way up to businesses which are quite large. And for that reason, sometimes, probably to a fault, I kind of think I know where things are from an economy point of view because I see the spectrum. You might deal with only high net worth people who are taking riskier plays in crypto. You might deal with people who can actually afford a financial planner, right? It's an important distinction. We sort of see everything, right, from the ground up. So from my point of view, in terms of being here and what I've done, my background, it's all led me to the core conclusion is that as a community, if we're not strong financially, if we're not strong or confident financially, then we are always going to be kind of employed. And employed not in a negative sense. There's plenty of people, my parents, previously, and myself, you guys all employed. It's not a negative thing, but there are some constraints with that, right? So if you have financial freedom, that's where you want to be. That's the nirvana, right? Where you see, on TV or YouTube, people just walking around cruising. That's
on yachts.
On yachts, right? So I don't think that's realistic for everyone, but I think there's a happy medium, right, in terms of what people can achieve. Now, most people I see in the non-meme sense, love their job, right? And they're in a position where without that, they have no purpose. I think our community is slightly different. We have a purpose which is a higher purpose, and the world in and of itself is a means to delivering yourself to that higher purpose, right? They don't separate each other. You don't have this nihilistic effort to say, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to sit in my room. But I think what we have done poorly as a community is actually strengthened each other by coming together, doing things like this and doing other, financial service faculties, education service faculties, anything that you'd like to think of. We have a lot of distrust within the community. So for me, what we're doing here is to try and draw in that and strengthen that. And there's a lot of good in the community that, that we see. And I think what we're going to do here is draw in that good and draw in the people that we trust to be able to say, hey, these are real options and this is how you actually are going to move from A to B. Now, and I'll be very honest, is that the last 2 years have been really traumatic for our community. And I think it's really important that we understand as a community, unless we have this sure footing, we are always going to be told what to do as opposed to having a point of, we need to be in the discussion, right?
Yeah.
And if we're not, then we're not. And then you can't blame anyone but yourself. And I think we kind of see that overseas in the sense that everyone's looking at certain different directions going, hey, how come they're not doing anything? How come we're not? Because even at that level, they're kind of they're beholden to someone else. There's no self-identity, right? So for us, we've called the podcast Faith, Money, Finance, and that might be a little bit of tautology in there, but I think it's important that money and finance are two different things, right? Money is a medium, right? I pay for B and I pay for A, get B, right? Finance is to say holistically, how do you utilize that money to be able to move yourself ahead? I'm sure you've got plenty of clients who earn really good money, but they don't actually have any financial founding, right?
Yes.
You've got people who, and you would see it, crypto bros who have made tons of money, lose tons of money, right? So all of it, in my humble opinion, is to get people to say, okay, great. If you're working for Microsoft, if you're working for a large employer, small employer, it doesn't really matter. What you've got, let's put it on the ground. Let's have these conversations here. Let's bring in people that we know that can help. And let's also have an open and frank conversation about the challenges that we have as a community. And then we can, try to go forward. So that's kind of who I am. That's why I'm here. So, yeah.
So you mentioned something interesting there, Rids. Financial literacy.
Yes.
One of the most important things that us as a community, not only on an individual level, is we lack the financial literacy in order to discern what is right, what is good and what is not so good.
I'll give you a really good example. And my wife, she will not like this, but so I was recently interviewed by a university to try and give meaning to financial literacy, right? And my wife actually runs a financial literacy awareness program for, survivors of financial abuse and other domestic violence scenarios. So in my household, it's, financial literacy is talked about a lot. I sort of said to the interviewer, this doctorate, I said to her that I think it's not just women, it's men, right? Financial literacy isn't sort of gender biased, right? It's not, yes, women are more prone to elements of financial illiteracy, but I actually think that it's pretty even Stevens in our community in the sense that how many guys work 25, 30 years and, complete credit to them, doing every single thing just like you and I, to put food on the table, to provide for our family, whatever standard or level that is. But in terms of actually investing, trying to get financial independence, being financially literate to make sure that they've got certain things in place is pretty low, right? I think it's not as high as what, some might think. And I think that's important to your point that if you can build that sort of framework and fabric here and people can come to a safe space, talk about it, it's a really good idea.
So is financial literacy, according to you and from your experience, and feel free to butt in, Muneeb, is it just about reading terms and conditions?
It's the opposite of reading a P&L. I'll tell you how much.
Good.
Yeah.
So expand on that a bit more.
So, financial literacy is put in this bucket high, is put on this shelf high up, saying, okay, only certain people can understand financial elements. But I actually think that's incorrect, right? If you want to be financially literate, you have to start at what it is to know your money. Like a lot of people, like I would have heaps and heaps of clients where you ask, hey, when we're doing a tax return, what does your partner earn? They literally pick up the phone and go, hey, how much do you earn? How much did you earn this year?
Yeah.
And they go, 145,000, and I put it in the return. And so for me, sometimes that's interesting, but it's also not unusual, right? In the sense that people go, okay, great. If everything's running well, then we're kind of all good, right? Like, you only need to be literate when something needs to be understood. In our community, because we have an element of understanding of, that our provision comes to us in different ways, shapes or forms, children, wives, mothers, brothers, everything in between. We take somewhat of a more faith-based approach to that, if I want to put it that way, right? That if I work hard, it will come to me. And that's absolutely the truth. Mm-hmm. But there's also the concept, tying your camel, doing what's needed, those type of things. So I think for me, it's about people, couples, not women, not men, but couples, even families, actually going, okay, great, what do we want? Like, what are your goals? And I always do this, and people have seen me speak before. It's really annoying I do it. I actually don't put that. I always do it, whereas I ask clients or I ask people, what do you want to do when you retire? And everyone goes, I want to do charity, I want to climb K2, I want to do all these different things. And then I say, okay, great. Who has an idea of what they want to do in retirement? They'll put their hand up. And then I say, okay, who did it last month? Puts their hand down. Who did it last week? Puts their hand down. Who did it last weekend, right? It's like one person left, right? And I go, that person there is ready for retirement because he's actually actively engaged in his retirement plan. He's actually doing it, right? And it's like you. What do you want to do when you retire?
Oh, spearfish.
When did you go spearfishing last?
Last weekend.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Did you? What'd you catch?
Lobster.
Did you?
Oh, that's solid.
Oh, did you cook
And
it?
I went night as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I went like 2 a.m.
Man, that dude got eaten by the shark.
You know what?
Like,
Same spot.
oh, no
Oh,
way.
no way.
I would diving that same spot.
So the shark doesn't like, it's a great white for a reason.
Oh man, I read the day after. I was like, for real, because at night when you go diving, you can see sharks, and I sort of push them on my torchlight, right? Oh, but
Yeah, be careful. So like you're ready for retirement, right?
oh, I could retire tomorrow if I wanted to. And if someone gave me a bunch of money, I'd retire tomorrow, buy a big yacht, and I'd just bring my family around and just go spearfishing. That's what I do.
That's a dream.
That's
right?
the dream.
So in between that, there's a lower level to that. But I think that's you're good in the sense that you've done spearfishing. So hats off to you, right? Like, and I think that's really important. So for me, I think the basis of financial literacy is understanding where you are, what you'd like to get to, and then putting reasonable steps in place. Not with a huge amount of risk. There's some parts of your portfolio can be risky, but some level of risk to be able to engage in that. Now, there's elements of Sharia compliance. For most people, having a plan, understanding how to get there, and then developing that plan to be able to actually achieve those goals is probably what's missing. Most people are too busy working, and that's fair. But if you're too busy working, then you're never going to get to that spot, right? And sometimes you've got to get professionals to help you.
Okay, so retirement. I mean, the questions that you ask is what I ask my clients as well, right? And I get into the nitty gritty on, first we go from a macro view on when they want to retire, what retirement looks like, and then we go micro. We just go down, next level, then how we achieve that, right? So one thing I think everyone has is superannuation, because we're going through the theme of retirement, right? So with superannuation, there's so many different supers out there. So let's say whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or even about to retire, how important is it to check your super?
So I think super important question. Superannuation is one of the most neglected parts of someone's financial wealth pool, especially within our community, right? What I said before is that we have the understanding and the truth of the fact that our provision comes to us, but it's a future Ridhwan problem in many people's minds. I'm young, I'm 40, I'm 38, 42. I'm going to retire in 25 years from now. Who knows what's going to happen? You've got people who are invested more or more focused in their own, cryptocurrency type relationships. There's people who are more focused on what they're going to make with tomorrow's next cryptocurrency run as opposed to what's going to happen with their retirement. So you would have seen a lot of people who in your space are that potentially more sophisticated level who even use crypto as a long-term investment as opposed to a lot of the short-term gains that people are making.
Absolutely. And it's just people who are curious, right? So it's that aspect of literacy that you spoke about earlier. So I see people who are curious, and it might just involve, let's say, setting up a self-managed super fund. Someone may have educated themselves on like the merits of holding, let's say, Bitcoin long term.
Yes.
And we see people on all ends of the spectrum. So you might have some people who invest a certain portion of their super fund, and they diversify and get exposure to digital assets. And there's others who will go all in, essentially, right? Like they might be a lot younger and just starting their sort of working life, much less capital to deploy, but they sort of see it as like a long time frame investment, and they'll go all in on Bitcoin. But the common fact, that those people, the common trait with those people is just curiosity and wanting to sort of educate themselves and be literate and move from like 0 to 1, right? I think that's something we want to sort of impart to our audience and sort of make them literate, have more financial literacy. Because to your point and what you guys were discussing earlier, I think in our community there is a negative connotation to some extent with the pursuit of wealth, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of dovetails into not wanting to be literate.
Yes.
And I think that's a paradigm shift that we'll try our best to sort of initiate and just get people curious and asking questions about, it could be something as simple as, what did my super fund return last year? Where does this sort of sit in the benchmark in terms of your average retail super fund? Could I be doing any better?
Actually, that's a very good point. If we're marrying up financial literacy and superannuation, that's something that we could get our viewers to do, which is, if you haven't seen your super statement last year, 6 months even,
I bet you most people haven't seen it in 6 months.
So this is what we'll tell you guys to do. Till the next episode, we'll ask you guys to go and log into your super, find out what your returns are, and let us know if you're looking for another option or what the benchmark should be, whether it's underperforming or if you're paying too many, if your fees are too high, or if you're not happy with the investments.
Or maybe just the balance is low compared to what you'd be. I had a client the other day who said that he was invested with a community fund, and he was surprised when he opened up the balance because he wanted to buy a property in super. So he opened up a super fund with him and his brother, and his brother actually earned substantially less than him, and his brother had more super, and it was invested in a retail industry fund. And so he was like, I was really surprised that, if he looked at just his contributions, the balance should have been there, but it had been in that fund for the better part of 10 years, right? So I think to your point is that people should look at their balances. So I think what we'll do, actually what our mandate for this podcast is that each and every episode, like we've got the superannuation one today, we will have a call to action every single episode so that the community can get engaged, get mobilized, and actually get talking and engage with us so that we can help. Right? Whether we help directly or you actually get your own help doesn't really bother us, but we want to see movement within the community. So I want to thank you, gents, for taking the time out and giving us your valuable time today. We will try and do this at least once a month and then increase the frequency of it depending on what people like. And we'll also get a lot of guests in. We have a bit of a guest list that should be pretty interesting to hear some people's stories, what they think, some new products within the community, and go from there. So, I really want to thank everyone. We will leave all the descriptions for email addresses, how to get in contact with us in the subscription. So, as everyone says, like and subscribe, but really, we want you to like and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, gents, welcome. This is the inaugural episode for us. My name's Ridhwan Hannan. We are trying to... That sucks. Hey, guys. My name's Ridhwan Hannan here. I've got my... You're a freaking long night. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you've come to this podcast.
Thank you for the kind introduction.
You're most welcome.
So my name is Afiq Malek. I currently am the principal of Granada Wealth Advisory, a financial planning firm. So my...
It's the most whiniest,
Yeah, I know. Okay.
But the other part is it's like a future Ridhwan problem. It's a future Ridhwan problem.